Welcome to today's Explainer. Okay, let's dive into this. Today we're unpacking a really profound story of resilience and faith called the Divine Provision. Honestly, this serves as such a powerful, encouraging explainer, especially if you're a single parent out there who's just feeling completely overwhelmed today. Are you fighting a battle right now that just feels absolutely impossible to win? Look, single parenting, it's a monumental, often underappreciated task. The sheer exhaustion is profound, and, sometimes that isolation you feel is even heavier than the physical fatigue itself. The source material we're looking at today introduces us to a woman named Sarah, who found herself in exactly this kind of seemingly impossible, deeply isolating situation. Section 1. The Daily Battle, the Fight for Survival. So the story sets the scene with Sarah living in a small American town. And for her, every single day didn't just feel like a normal routine to get through, it felt like a relentless, exhausting fight just for basic survival. Let's look at what that battle actually looked like on a practical level. She was working 2 jobs, piling bills, a failing car, and just struggling to buy basic groceries. Think about the sheer psychological and physical weight of that list for a second. For so many of you single parents watching, this isn't some hypothetical scenario. This is your everyday reality. You're literally balancing the survival of your family on your shoulders. And no matter how hard you work, the math just isn't mathing. Section 2. A moment of surrender. The breaking point. The story brings us to a specific, quiet night. Sarah had just put her daughter to bed. The house is completely silent, which, as you probably know, is often exactly when the anxiety gets the loudest. She's sitting entirely alone at her kitchen table, and finally, the immense weight of it all just breaks her. She cries. The text captures her breaking point with this exact quote. She whispered, "Jesus, I can't do this anymore. I feel so alone." Take a second to really let the profound weight of that surrender settle in. That right there is the sound of someone who has reached the absolute end of their own human strength. Section 3. Choosing to trust. Faith over fear. Now, the morning after a tearful, desperate prayer like that, human nature expects a miracle right at dawn, right? But the text is super grounded here. It points out that the morning after her surrender, the physical reality of her life hadn't magically transformed at all. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast it shows. On one hand, you've got the morning after, the physical reality. Those bills were still sitting right there on the table. The systemic problems absolutely had not disappeared. But on the other hand, we have Sarah's choice. She made the conscious and honestly incredibly difficult decision to trust God anyway, despite a complete lack of any visible immediate evidence. Section 4. The Unseen Breakthrough. Behind the Scenes. Well, right after that internal decision, things ironically seem to get worse before getting better. Sarah's car, that failing car we mentioned earlier, it finally just stopped working completely. Feeling entirely defeated, she prayed again. But the narrative shows us her faith was about to be met with some incredible, tangible action. And this brilliantly illustrates how the provision actually unfolded over time. It wasn't just one sudden lightning bolt. No, days later, a neighbor she barely even knew noticed her struggle and stepped in to fix her car completely for free. Then, a week later, an unexpected check arrived in the mail, perfectly covering those overdue bills that were keeping her awake at night. And soon after that, she was offered a much better job with higher pay and the flexible hours she desperately needed. For the first time in months, the text notes, she finally felt real hope. Section 5. Walking Through the Storm. He never left. The narrative then takes us to that following Sunday. Sarah is sitting in church, and as she reflects on the absolute whirlwind of the past few weeks, she experiences this sudden, overwhelming realization about those darkest moments back at her kitchen table. She realizes powerful truth. Jesus had never abandoned her. even when those bills were piling up to the ceiling and the car was breaking down, he had been working entirely behind the scenes. She understood so clearly that the storm wasn't over just because she had toughed it out and been strong enough on her own. No, the storm was over because he had walked through it with her the entire time. The text highlights a specific biblical reminder that brought tears to Sarah's eyes and a smile to her face. "Fear not, for I am with you." The story offers this as a direct comfort, a promise of presence right in the absolute thick of the chaos, meant to reassure anyone out there facing similar odds. Section 6. A message for you. You are not alone. So the crucial point is how this narrative translates directly to you, the viewer. Because this explainer isn't just about detailing Sarah's resolution. It's really about drawing a direct line from her story and the source text straight to your current, very real struggles. The source leaves us with these powerful takeaways, and I want to summarize them for you right now with absolute conviction. He sees your pain, he hears your prayers, and he has not forgotten you. No matter how isolated you might feel when your house is quiet and those financial pressures are just screaming at you, you are seen and you are heard. Which brings us to our final provocative thought of the explainer. Your breakthrough may be closer than you think. As the original story invites us, if you believe in this message of hope, take a moment right now to type Amen in the comments. And please, share this explainer with someone, maybe another hardworking single parent who desperately needs to hear this exact message today. Thank you so much for learning with us. Keep holding on, and we'll see you next time.